We're the Film Don't Lie guys from UGAsports.com. Dayne Young, Brent Rollins. We're doing a thing called Football 101, where we kind of take you into some of the basics of what Georgia does in its game so you can be a more knowledgeable Georgia fan. And when Georgia lines up, you can tell your buddies, hey, I know what they're doing here because I watched Football 101. Brent, we're talking about the running game in our current series. We're going to man or duo, a couple different names that can happen, a couple different iterations. So just explain to me what we're doing with this set of videos.
Yeah, so this one we're looking, I mean, what's interesting is the tag for it is probably if you ask 10 different football people, you're going to get 6 different answers in terms of how they tag a lot of these things. I went primarily with one, the man tag, which is what PFF uses. And then also, duo is something that looks a lot like inside zone, but it's really not. Some people call it Bob, big on big. So, it's who knows. In essence, what you've done, though, with this type of blocking scheme is it's old school power football without a puller. And this is more downhill movement focus. When you look at Georgia's usage of this, it was sort of third most, I think, in terms of usage this past year. It's also something that is very good in short yardage for Georgia. It's when you have, buck kickers, especially on the edge, like you do with Darnell Washington. And I think that's really, when we look at these series of plays, it's like, okay, who functions in the Darnell role in 2023? Is it Oscar Delp? Is it somebody else? So, because what he's able to do, and it allows some of the unique things that they do here, and just to be able to basically bully you in a way.
So this is Georgia's "we big and you ain't" formation, or we're big and you're not everywhere.
That kind of and very true. And that's when we look at all 3 of these, it's always at Darnell. So it's just now a couple different things with it. One versus a zone look where you see everybody, all the offensive line stepping one way with a singular foot. This is where you see sort of vertical movement. This is I'm going downhill. And ideally, and what you look here, you especially see the front, the 4-man front, you see 2 double teams. And that's why you also get the sort of duo tag a lot of times is, and I think one of them, you can see it a little more than the other, but you got to, on the 2 interior guy, the 2 most interior guys, whether it's guard, tackle, guard, center, working together and getting 2 different double teams. And what you're ideally hoping to do is push that back into the linebacker and then letting the running back just sort of go wherever the hole happens to be. The unique part about what they can do here is what Darnell does, which is just stand up a guy on the edge and push them. I think it might be Jordan Birch. I can't remember. But, and so when do you see this oftentimes with Georgia? You see it right here in this play, first down, where it's like, hey, we're just going to be bigger and we're going to push and we're going to go get 5 yards and feel good about where we are on second down. Or when you see it a little later, you see it in short yardage situations where we're just going to be big and push and get the 2 or 3 yards that we need. That's why in terms of success rate, this play, this scheme, number 1 success rate in terms of their running game in 2022. Now,
typically the
also lowest in terms of explosive play, though. Very successful, but not as explosive.
The technique needed for this very much matches what a lot of high school players that play in the SEC come out with. Go watch a Marius Mims high school tape, and you see a lot of, I'm bigger, I can stand up and move this way, and it's going to move the pile. So this is not necessarily technique driven as much as it is weight room driven.
Bigger, stronger, faster. Also, QB, you watch the QB here. I think they set in the shotgun, the footwork is always the same. He just turns and opens. You can add some RPO tags with this. There's a lot of offenses that do a lot of their RPO game off of this type of look as well, where that QB sort of rides the ball in a little further. You see it more with inside zone because of the open stance, but here it's always Stetson just turns and gives. Not much. Yeah. There's not much fake, but it's more of setting up possible play action type looks later.
Or even the like boot and drag kind of thing if you have the right formation in there.
Right.
We've seen that a little bit. That was against South Carolina, this back in Sanford Stadium.
The very first play against Vandy where we just get to watch Darnell Washington say, Go to ground, young fella. And
That's
what you
taking the shopping cart back to the corral at Costco. Like that's a different level of shopping cart. That's not getting it to the front door of Publix. That's one of those big Costco carts.
the neighbor always says, "I baptize you in the name." So, but what you see here is with this play is linebackers often fit this play terribly. And I mean, this is the first play of the game against Vandy, and the left inside linebacker, defense's left inside linebacker, gets caught in the pile here, 32. Because, if you read it as a linebacker as, hey, this is inside zone, so if you flow a little bit away versus this is actually coming downhill at you, and now you make good cuts and you have Bowers also doing work on the outside. Like that's just a 9-yard gain on first down to open the game. That's beautiful. That's why, again, in terms of success rate, very successful for them in 2022. How does that change in 2023 without Darnell?
Another thing to point out, and I did this on another one of our Football 101 videos. Where is this ball? It's on the right hash. This play comes this way. Georgia's totally fine with running to the short side of the field. Mm-hmm. And Georgia likes its ability to create space there. And you see Georgia running toward the boundary pretty often.
Yep. I think we'll actually see it in two different plays in the next part of the series that we're doing.
This is more toward the middle of the field, and you got a little Kenny Mack baptizing someone himself.
Yes, but this is going fast on third down. We saw it initially with Darnell as an inline tight end on the line of scrimmage. Then you see it Darnell off the line of scrimmage, Bowers even in the slot, and here you get the trips bunch. And it's just what's easy for them is if you sort of pause it at the snap or right before the snap. Get right there. Is one, they're going quick here. So Florida is not adjusting, not ready to go. It's short yardage. Two,
ref does hand in the air.
Yeah. Two, if everybody sort of comes inside of Bowers and thinks, oh, they're just coming right here off tackle on us. That's what does Georgia do there? They run the quick toss. And now it's outside zone, or now it's pull and lead, and get a crack and a lead from somebody else. It's whatever you do, you're going to be wrong in this situation. Or more often than not. And like I said, that I think is why the biggest reason why it was that plus Darnell is the biggest reason why it was the most successful in terms of run scheme this past year for Georgia.
Yeah, you only needed to get a yard, and then you see the space here and Darnell coming there. You're like, I feel good about that.
Yep. I can get that yard all day, every day. Again, old school power without the puller. Downhill, at you fast. I'm bigger than you. Come stop me.
So Georgia does this somewhat often, but I don't think it's as much as people would think it is, because Georgia, though it's big, don't get me wrong, Georgia offensive line has only gotten bigger in recent years. There's still so much finesse that comes with blocking well, and it takes some technicians in there to do it the right way.
And we said it in another video, say it again in this one, and I think it's a constant within the running game. Be diversified. Do a lot of different things to where you give your quarterback options at the line of scrimmage based upon what the defense is doing, and you try to make them wrong no matter what they do.
I like the management of the clock there and being quick at the line of scrimmage and just block forward, because we'll get what we need here in a situation where you need to get a yard quickly and keep the defense from lining up like it should. That's really helpful. And I think Georgia's gotten really good at that. I think Mike Bobo in particular is good at that with the run game and scheme. So I can see this being something Georgia uses often in that scenario.
That's what's going to be interesting from a run game standpoint for them, obviously with the new offensive coordinator, is does that diversity stay? Does it tilt one way or the other? Do you see it tilt one because of a little bit of personnel differences, not as much, with Darnell and the strength that he brought? Do you do some things differently because you're on more one tight end formation versus two tight end formations?
Well, I'll find that out together. Hope we've made you a more knowledgeable Georgia fan. This is Football 101 from Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com. Brent Rollins, Dayne Young.